Welcome to our reading corner. This week we're reading stories that are telling us about how we can be writers too. Do you make your own books at home? Do you draw or write letters? Well, then you're already a writer. Today's book is called A Squiggly Story. We are going to see how this little boy learns to make his own stories just like the books he reads. Let's get started. A Squiggly Story by Andrew Larson and Mike Lowry. A Squiggly Story. My sister loves to read. Big words and little words, page after page, word after word. My sister loves to write. Big words and little words, page after page, word after word. That's right, because readers are also writers. So cool. Sometimes I pretend I can write too. Big letters and little letters, swirl after swirl, squiggle after squiggle. Look at all this writing. What are you doing? I ask one day while we're sitting at the kitchen table. I'm writing a story. I wish I could write a story. You can. It's easy, his sister says. But how? I know my letters, but I don't know many words. And his sister says, write what you know. Every story starts with a single word, and every word starts with a single letter. Why don't you start there with a letter? So I get my crayons and pencils and a pad of paper and I start to write. I start with a single letter. It's an easy letter. That's me, I. And she says, that's a good beginning. Now what's going to happen? He looks a little worried. How should I know? And she says, well, it's your story. You're the boss. That's so cool. When you're writing your own story, you're the boss. You get to make all the choices. He's thinking, what? I'm stuck. What happens in my story? I draw a circle. It's a soccer ball. Then I write another letter. It's you, I say to my sister. I'm playing soccer with you. Great. Where are we playing soccer? Maybe we're playing on the beach, I suggest. We've never played soccer on the beach. So I do a bunch of dots for the sand on the beach. Then I make a bunch of V's. Big V's and little V's. Wave after wave in the ocean. Now what? What do you mean? You have a beginning. Now we're in the middle of the story. Something else has to happen so we can get to the end. I'm stuck again. I start doodling. I doodle another V, but this time I doodle it upside down. Oh no, it's a shark. It's getting closer and closer, and this is what they're imagining. So they drew that upside down V, and this is what he's picturing in his mind. I flip the page to get away from the shark. The next day, I bring my story to school. It's my turn for show and tell. That means I get to sit in Mrs. Singh's chair. Everyone else sits on the carpet, ready to listen. Here's Miss Singh. Here's her chair. And then here he says, last night I started to write a story. It's sort of squiggly, but here goes. Once upon a time, there was a brother and a sister, and they loved to play soccer. Hi! One day they had an idea. They decided to play soccer on the beach, so they went to the beach and played soccer. Then they noticed something coming toward them in the water. It was a shark, a real live shark. It was getting closer and closer, and it was getting bigger and bigger, and that's as far as I got. That's wonderful, said Mrs. Singh. What happens next? What about the shark? What about the brother and the sister? I don't know. I'm stuck. And Mrs. Singh says, class, does anyone have an idea? Jake waves his hand in the air. I do. Maybe one of them kicks the ball and hits the shark in the head. Ow! Then maybe the shark bites the ball with his big pointy shark teeth. Aaliyah offers another idea. What if the shark's name is Squiggles? What if Squiggles is a vampire shark? What if she invites the brother and sister to ride on her back? And what if they become a vampire family and live forever? Vampires can't swim. Everyone knows that. And then she says, of course they can swim. Vampires can do anything. They have some really big imaginations. I love it. And then he says, but it's my story and I don't want vampires in my story. And then she says, if I was writing a story, I'd have lots of vampires. And he says, then you should write one. And she says, but I like yours. That night after dinner, I sit down beside my sister. Her face is buried in a book. I've been thinking about my story all day, and I still don't know how to end it. Remember, you're the author, she says without looking up. You can do whatever you want. So every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. He's really stuck on his ending. So I get my pencil and I start with a bunch of stars. Then I add a few exclamation marks. My sister told me exclamation marks makes things exciting. She's right, it is exciting. I add a couple of slanty lines. What's going on? Asked my sister, looking up from her book. And this is what he says. It's nighttime, the stars are out, the shark has gone away, and we decide to take a walk on the beach. That's when we discover this giant rocket ship. That sounds cool. Then what happens? We hear a voice. It's counting down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Not yet, I say, adding one more squiggle. Just before the rocket blasts off, we spy a Martian looking out through a window. The Martian invites us to climb aboard. That's a great ending. Now I have an idea for my next story. It's going to be about a boy who climbs aboard a rocket ship and takes a trip to Mars. And I think I know just how to begin. And here is a picture of his rocket ship. That was so great. He got a little bit stuck when he was writing, but that's what happens to all writers, really. So today I thought we could make our own squiggly stories, and we can draw all our ideas on paper, and that might inspire us to make even more stories, just like in this book. Let me show you. So you're gonna wanna get some paper and some writing tools. I like to use a skinny black marker as my writing pen. I think that works really great, but any sort of writing tool will do. This is my daughter Genevieve's writing. Let's see what she did. She made some squiggly lines for water, and she drew a picture of herself. And look, she even added some letters. She told me what this says, and I can read it too. It says swim class. Swim class. Wow, that's really cool. Let me show you another one she did. This one has a picture of a bike, and it looks like a person is up here on top riding the bike. And then she wrote a sentence. She wrote, I ride my bike. And I helped her out. First she said the story out loud to me, and we counted how many words that she would write down. I ride my bike. So then I drew 4 lines for her. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I put a period there. And she tried to write the letters that she heard for each word. So your grown-up can help you do that too. So let me show you how you can get started. So if you get a piece of paper, just like in the story, you can practice squiggles and different slanty lines. You can practice doing mountains, V's, and just do some creative thinking until you're inspired to create a story. I have a story here that I started that was inspired by the book we just read. Do you see what I made there? I made a rocket ship. I was inspired to make my own story about the rocket ship. Here's me. I'm gonna write the word me here. So you know that that's me. I kind of have longer hair. And I'm gonna draw some other people here with me. I'm gonna draw my daughter Genevieve. Her name starts with a G, so I'm going to put a G. And on the other side, I'm going to draw another person who's in my story. That's my daughter Luella, and there's an L, and she's next to her brother Walter. And I put a W, and I can pretend that this is about to blast off. I can say more by reading my picture and telling my story out loud. One day, I was with my daughter Genevieve, my daughter Luella, and my son Walter. We were walking down the street and we saw a rocket ship. We knew we just had to see what was inside. So we walked toward the rocket ship and we knocked on the door. Do you see how I was telling the story and I decided I wanted to add something to my story? You can do that too. Okay, let's do one more. So now I have a blank piece of paper and I'm just gonna think first what I wanna say. So first I was outside walking. I saw the beautiful tree, the leaves were changing colors. Last, it started to rain and I danced around in the rain. So my story has a beginning, middle, and end. Now I can draw my story. I'm gonna use my thick marker this time. Here I am, walking. There's my squiggles, and I'm next to a tree. I'm gonna make some round, leafy branches. Here's some branches. There's some more squiggles. And I'm walking around, and suddenly it begins to rain. So I'm making all these little raindrops. And I wasn't mad about the rain. I was pretty excited. So I'm gonna make my face enjoying this. And here's my hair. I can make squiggles for my hair. Wow. So I told a story that had a beginning, middle, and end. You can try this at home too with your drawing and your letters. I hope you had fun reading a squiggly story with me today, and I hope you'll try out making your own stories at home too. I know you can get really creative, add your own letters, include your family and your friends in them, and then when you're all done, you can color them too. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.